Hey guys, in this video we're going to be doing an update on the Remington Solar Ionizer. This is a 1-year update for this thing. I did have a recent issue that happened. The little bolt up here broke off and came out, and so I figured it's probably a good time to do an update since it's been 1 year of using this thing in this pool. So this is a pretty decent sized pool, and the Ionizer's been in it for the whole time. So in this video I'm going to tell you guys what my experience was for the last 12 months and if I think it's, done its job or not, and also some of the things I learned about this thing as I kept using it. So if you just want to know if it works, the answer is yes, and it works very well. And the reason I say that is because I quit shocking the pool completely. I've only probably shocked it maybe 5 times the whole year, and that was because of heavy rains or just neglecting this thing for a bit or just very heavy uses. But overall I have to say that it's quite incredible because I used to shock the pool every week, almost maybe every other week, to try to keep it from turning green. So yes, this thing works very well. Actually not too hard to maintain once I figured out how to do that. So looking at it from durability point of view, the basket here survived just fine. It is somewhat discolored. The spring itself is just fine also. It's just dirty right now, and we're going to talk about the cleaning of this thing because it's quite important. And that is the copper right there after 1 year. So I haven't changed the copper. It came with 2 when I bought it. Here's the new one that we're going to install today since it's a year later. So let's go ahead and pull it out here. And you probably want to wear gloves, guys. You can see how it's pretty thin. And if we compare it to the new one, you guys can see how much it ate the copper over 1 year. So yeah, and by the way, for this pool here, I did not see any kind of negative effects with the copper. Some people say it could stain and things like that, but I don't see any issues for at least my size pool here. So let's go over quickly the maintenance for this thing. So the kit came with 2 nylon bolts, and they shortly broke after I had them, maybe within about 2-3 months. They're too long, and so once they go into the rod and then they can't come out for some reason, they get stuck in there. So I've been using all kinds of different bolts to try to hold it. So recently one of my 3D printed bolts broke off again, but I do have some extra ones which is in here, and so I've just been printing my own little bolts here as they break, because over time they break for some reason. They seem to last for a little bit. So if you want to go to the hardware store and get some nylon ones, you can, but you're definitely going to need extra ones, so count on that. Now the way I usually clean this thing is with it all together, the rod in there with the spring. All I do is grab the hose and just wash it just like this, and you guys can kind of see all that green stuff coming out of there. And if I put it on full here, it's a little more effect on it. So right now it's kind of already all fell off, but you can see the dust coming out, particles flying off of it. So basically the routine that I've made for this thing is every week I try to clean it, but I'll alternate it between just spraying it down like that and then just putting it back in the pool, which takes 30 seconds. And then every other time, so once every 2 weeks or twice a month, I'd actually take it apart, take the rod out, brush it with the brush, and also brush this thing from the inside and outside all around, because it does accumulate, as you guys can see, this growth on it. Now the only issue is that this stuff doesn't come off that easy. You think you're taking it off, but it's actually not coming off, and you don't realize it, but it grows a layer on here that eventually stops the electricity from letting pass through to this thing, and so it gets slower and weaker even though it looks clean. So after realizing that and wondering why this thing wasn't working, about 2-3 months later down the line, looking at it closer, I realized there was a really thin layer of coating on this thing that needed to be rubbed off. And so after trying to figure out what the best way to get that off, or the easiest way, I ended up using white distilled vinegar, and this stuff works super good. And by the way, this is the brush that came with it. You guys can see it's pretty much used up. I do have another brush, and by the way, you will need to get more brushes. So I just poured the vinegar to like any kind of little bucket or something just to hold it, and then I'll dip my brush in there to get it wet, and then I'll rub this, and the vinegar will actually eat up this stuff. I mean, it eats it up very well. Like, it literally just melts it away. Let's see if I can give you guys a little preview here where I just rubbed it just a bit right here, and you can probably see how nice and shiny that is, and it completely strips it to the metal. So it's not very hard to clean it once you figure out that vinegar works super well at eating up that thin layer. So if you have an ionizer like this or used one before and you're wondering why it doesn't work, it's because there's a really thin layer on this spring that needs to be dissolved, and vinegar does that. So once I figured that out, after that I had no issues whatsoever with this thing, and it's been performing excellent. It's been doing so well that sometimes I completely forget about it and my pool still doesn't turn green. So I haven't had my pool green in over 7 or 8 months. I've never seen it green, and that just tells you how well this thing works. So I still drop in some tablets here and there. There's one tablet in there right now, just just to make sure, if there's any kind of bacteria, it would still sanitize the pool somewhat. But overall, this pool has been ultra low chlorine for a very long time, and it's very nice and pleasant to swim in water that practically has no chlorine. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean this whole thing up, and then we'll rinse it and we'll put the new rod in it. And by the way, guys, you do want to wear your gloves. I don't know where I put mine, so I just have to make this video without it. And by the way, the reason it looks this bad is because it's been over a month since I cleaned it last. Maybe even a little more. But yeah, not buying chlorine anymore is so nice. I still have shock that I bought like a year ago that I haven't even used yet. And I've only used a bucket of chlorine tablets the whole year. Or maybe it's not even been a bucket, I'm not sure, something like that. And we use the pool year round. So after this, you guys can see all this gunk here. And all I just do is take some water and spray it all off. Shower. And the spring is pretty much like new again. So, I mean, I didn't clean it perfect, but it's close enough. But again, if you use the vinegar, you gotta dissolve it where it actually works. So let's grab our new rod. Install it. And by the way, you can use vinegar also to rub the rod down, but the rod doesn't really matter as much. I ended up just spraying the rod with water and just leaving it the way it was, because that's not really the issue. Whatever falls off of it with water is plenty with just the jet, and then it's the spring is that what you care about, using the vinegar on and getting that layer off. And the basket can also be sprayed, but again, doesn't really matter. So yeah, now I'm just gonna put it back all together, bolt on. I printed these things a little bit long, so I'm gonna have to kind of go up a little higher than usual, but that's okay. And that's pretty much it, guys. We are finished, and now we started a new rod for this new year. So it's pretty exciting because not only did this thing last a year, but it has been performing amazingly well with the pool. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but the pool is pretty much crystal clear, and it's always been like that. You can see the drain right there, and that's the deepest part. But yeah, we'll just put it back in here, and the sun is going to hit it, and it's going to ionize the copper rod and release the ions into the water. I don't know if we can see it or not. Let's see. Probably be a little hard to see here, but it is working. And usually if it's still, you can see like this little fuzzy stuff around it, kind of like in the water, and that's the ionization actually working. And so after I'm done cleaning, I don't just throw away the vinegar. I actually pour it back in this bottle. That's why you can see it's kind of a little green, just to recycle it. And I've used this whole bottle for over half a year now, I think 6 to 7 months, and I still have plenty of vinegar there to continue using it. And vinegar is cheap anyways, but I just recycle it somewhat and then reuse it again. Put the lid back on. We're ready to go for next time. And looks like this copper rod is pretty much finished its life. So I guess we're not going to need this anymore. And I'm very happy that the Remington Solar Ionizer has been doing its job and keeping the pool pretty much free of chlorine. So yeah, this is a 1 year update on the Remington Solar. As you guys can see, I'm pretty happy with it. There's a lot of mixed reviews about it, of working, not working, and I think part of the issue is the maintenance of it. If you realize how it needs to be maintained, it seems to work very well. And of course, I was skeptical about this thing in the beginning, but obviously, as you can see here, I am a believer, and as long as I have a pool, I will have this kind of ionizer in it. So alright guys, well, if you enjoyed this video, then hit that like button. If you want to pick up one of these for yourself, I'll have some links in the description. Check it out. Also check out my original video that I made of this thing. It goes a little more into detail of the unboxing and the use of it. And if you enjoy videos like this, then stay tuned for more. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.